जैसे खत्म होने के बाद मुझसे 1 मिनट बात कर लीजिए। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन वस्सलातु वस्सलामु अला रसूलिल्लाहि व अला आलिहि व सहबिहि अजमाइन। रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली। Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Inshallah, in today's talk number 15, we will talk about a few things from Surah Taha. As a matter of fact, these few ayat that has been recited all the time, many of the speakers, or many of the people who start the talk in front of the people in Islamic talk, they start with this dua that Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. This is from Surah Taha, and the dua that Musa alayhi salatu wasalam made to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But anyways, inshallah, today I will not be just concentrating on 1 or 2 ayat, rather a story from Surah Taha that has been mentioned, and in the context that this surah was revealed. As the context of the surah tells us about, and from many other sources, that this surah was revealed prior to Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh came to the fold of Islam, because this is the very same surah as many of the reports talk about that Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh, he recited, and after that he accepted Islam. So as I mentioned, this was revealed prior to Umar's acceptance of Islam, and that shows that this was revealed in Mecca, and the time when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba were already going through difficult times because of the opposition by the Meccans, the one who did not accept Islam. The surah starts like this: Taha ma anzalna alayka al-Qur'ana litashqa illa tazkiratan liman yakhsha tanzilan min khalaq al-arda wa samawati al-ula. Here Allah Azza wa Jal is declaring something about the Quran itself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying this Quran was not revealed to you to make you suffer. Rather, it is a reminder for him who fears, who have the khashiyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a revelation from He who created the earth and the high heavens, the most merciful, Ar-Rahman wal-Arsh istawa, the most merciful on the throne He settled. And it goes on about this, the Asma wa Sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The idea is to understand that this Quran, the purpose of the Quran was a reminder to take the people to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Now, after that, this surah has quite a bit of verses were dedicated to the story of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. And there are numerous lessons that we can learn from this surah, or the story of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. I will just talk about one specific aspect of it. As I said, many of these stories have many lessons for us to learn from, and in this short period of time, if we can just get one out of it, that would be, I would call it a victory. So now here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala afterwards talk about Musa alayhi salatu wasalam's story. It says, وَهَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ Musa, that has the story of Musa reached to you. And as the Mufassirin talk about that, the story of Musa when Rasulullah was in Mecca. Why is it talked about? Because they were, the people of Mecca were well aware of the Yahud, the Jews, and they believe in Musa salam. So they were aware of him. So hence, this story of Musa salam is mentioned to the people, so they can learn the lesson from it, and they can see through the time that they are going through, even the Muslims and the kuffar, when they're reading it or listening to it. It says that إذ رأى نارا فقال لأهله امكثوا إني آنست نارا لعلي آتيكم منها بقبس أو أجد على النار هدى. Here Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was traveling with his family, and he saw a fire, and he said to his family that I have noticed a fire, perhaps I can bring you some fire or light, or find some guidance by the fire. And when Musa alayhi salatu wasalam he reached the fire. فَلَمَّا أَتَاهَا نُودِيَ يَا مُوسَى. When he reached there, he was called, O Musa, إِنِّي أَنَا رَبُّكَ فَاخْلَعْ نَعْلَيْكَ إِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوًى وَأَنَا أَخْتَرْتُكَ فَاسْتَمِعْ لِمَا يُوحَى إِنَّنِي أَنَا اللَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا فَاعْبُدْنِي وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِلذِّكْرِ. Here Allah Azza wa Jal is conversing with Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and telling him that to take off his shoes, and you are in a sacred valley of Thua. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning that I have chosen you as I have chosen you to listen to what is revealed, and mentioning to Musa alayhi salam that I am Allah, there is nobody worthy of worship but I, so serve me and practice a prayer by my remembrance. Now here, and it goes on a bit, and then after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed Musa alayhi salatu wasalam with his signs or the miracles that was given to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and two of them were mentioned here in this surah, in this part of the story. It says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked Musa alayhi salatu wasalam that وَمَا تِلْكَ بِيَمِينَكَ يَا مُوسَى, what is that you have in your right hand, O Musa alayhi salatu wasalam? And قَالَ هِيَ عَصَايَ أَتَوَّكَأُ عَلَيْهَا وَأَهُشُّ بِهَا عَلَى غَنَمِي وَلِيَ فِيهَا مَعْرِبُ أُخْرَى. That he said that this is my staff, I lean on it and I use it for to herd my sheep with it, and I have other uses for it. And then he says that قَالَ أَلْقِيهَا يَا مُوسَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Musa to throw it, or Musa throw the staff. And فَأَلْقَاهَا فَإِذَا هِيَ حَيَّةٌ تَسْعَى. And then when he threw it, that it turned into a moving serpent, moving snake. And قَالَ خُذْهَا وَلَا تَخَفْ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him that take it and do not be scared. So سَنُعِيدُهَا سِيرَتَهَا الْأُولَى. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, pick it up, take it, and don't be scared, don't have fear. It will return back to its original form. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the other miracle to him, which was ask him to take his hand out, press your hand to your side. It will come out white without any kind of any kind of blemish, or and this is another sign. So it will have as if the hand is glowing. So, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala لِنُرِيَّكَ مِنْ آيَاتِنَا الْكُبْرَى, and that we may show you some of our greatest signs. After that, Allah Azza wa Jal asked Musa alayhi salam to go to Fir'aun. إِذْهَبْ إِلَىٰ فِرْعَوْنَ إِنَّهُ طَغَى. That Fir'aun is a tyrant and he has transgressed. And upon that, Musa alayhi salam made this dua, قَالَ رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِّسَانِي يَفْقَهُوا قَوْلِي, asking Allah Azza wa Jal to open up his chest, open his breast, so he can understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving him, and also يَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي, and make my task easy. And then he asked for make his tongue untie his knot in the tongue, meaning not that he had any kind of a defect in his tongue or anything, rather he was not a very good speaker, as some of the other evidences talk about at this point, and he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a manner that people are able to understand my speech. And then he asked for making Harun alayhi salatu wasalam as his wazir, as his assistant, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed Harun alayhi salam also, who was, as one of the reports from Israeliyat discusses, that he was the older brother of Musa alayhi salam, a couple of years older than Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminded him of not only that Allah has did this, but rather he had blessed his family in the past as well, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Musa alayhi salam. And he revealed something to his mother as well when he was born in a very difficult times. So now here, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and after appointing Harun also as a prophet, he said, إِذْهَبْ أَنْتَ وَأَخُوكَ بِآيَاتِي وَلَا تَنِيَ فِي ذِكْرِي اذْهَبَا إِلَىٰ فِرْعَوْنَ إِنَّهُ طَغَىٰ. Now he has commanded both of them to go and call him towards Islam. فَقُولُوا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَىٰ. But speak to him nicely, perhaps he will remember or have some fear. And here both of them showed some fear about going to the Fir'aun because of the situation. Musa alayhi salam ran away from Pharaoh at one point, because one of the people of the Pharaoh was killed by Musa alayhi salam by mistake. Now here they said ربنا إننا نخاف أن يفرض علينا أو أن يطغى, that they said we have the fear that he may persecute us or become violent against us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال لا تخاف إنني معكما أسمع وأرى, that don't worry, I am with you and I hear and I see. Now when they went to Pharaoh, that's the part today, even though it seemed like I made a little bit longer introduction here, but that's the part I really want to want you guys to pay attention to, which is when they went to Pharaoh and they presented Islam to them, presented them to worship one Allah, and upon that the Pharaoh and Musa alayhi salam, they had a conversation, was going back and forth, and he asked him that فَمَنْ رَبُّكُمَا يَا Musa, who's your Rabb? And قال رَبُّنَا الَّذِي أَعْطَى كُلَّ شَيْءٍ خَلْقَهُ ثُمَّ هَدَى, my Rabb is the one who created everything and gave them a shape and guided them. قال فَمَا بَأَلُ الْقُرُونِ الْأُولَى, what happened to the previous people? That's what Pharaoh said. And Allah, he said by the ilm from knowledge from Allah, قال إِلْمُهَا عِنْدَ رَبِّي فِي كِتَابٍ لَا يُضِلُّ رَبِّي وَلَا يَنْسَى. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is all in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He does not make errors and he does not forget. And that conversation goes on, and he continued to give him the answers regarding that, about the who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And after all this conversation about La ilaha illallah, basically what this conversation was going on, and he mentioned to them what happened to the people, and he Musa said, "Minna khalaqnakum wa fiha nu'idukum wa minna nukhrijukum taratan ukhra." This is one of the verse that we see that people are reciting all the time when they go for the burial of any of our beloved ones, and they throw dirt, the 3 handfuls of dirt, and they recite this verse. And this is what Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is reminding him, telling him who we are in reality. From this we created, and into this we will return, and Allah will resurrect us back again. So he's also giving him the part of the aqidah that deals with after death, what's going to happen to us, and we will be resurrected in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, only this La ilaha illallah is mentioned to Fir'aun at this point, and that Musa and Harun are the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And look at the response that Fir'aun was. He said that قَالَ أَجِئْتَنَا لِتُخْرِجَنَا مِنْ أَرْضِنَا بِسَحْرِكَ يَا Musa. He said, did you come us to drive out of a land with your magic, O Musa? فلنأتينك بسحر مثلي فاجعل بيننا وبينك موعدا لا نخلفه نحن ولا أنت مكانا سوا. So here he is saying, we will produce for you magic like it, so make an appointment between us and you, which we will not miss, and neither of us so you will meet in some place. Now here this is a very important aspect of this story. Musa alayhi salam and Harun have mentioned about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, only mentioned what's going to happen after we die. And it's not talking about too much detail of the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal yet. It's just the aqidah of Islam, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want all the mankind to understand and worship Allah alone. And it's not talking about all the ahkam, the details of all our actions or anything. It's rather just discussing the aqidah. But that was enough for the Fir'aun to understand that what Musa alayhi salam is bringing, that is to end his kingship. He was one of the most powerful person on the earth at that time, one of the biggest army he had, and he understood right away what Musa is bringing here when he is calling him to worship Allah alone. That La ilaha illallah was sufficient for him to understand that means that he cannot have the kind of a power that he's living with, and hence right away he felt Musa and Harun were threat for his kingdomship, even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started the surah in the beginning, and he mentioned about the Quran to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that this Quran is not revealed to you to make yourself. And when it says revealed to you, of course it's not only revealed to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it was revealed on him, and after that it was for the whole mankind. And this is not for any kind of a hardship, rather it is a reminder for all of us. It is a reminder for the people who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But of course Fir'aun is not one of the people who fear Allah, and hence he thought this is a threat to his power. And this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam faced from the people of the Mecca, and this is the very same thing that we see in today's time as well. And it's a good reminder for any of the Ahlul Ilm, the people even who are knowledgeable people, the one who refer to themselves, or the people refer to them as scholars, to understand. Look, this Musa والسلام, came with a very basic aqidah, and he was presenting, and even the person like Fir'aun understood what it meant, because La ilaha illallah is not only talking about just the ritualistic kind of ibadah, rather it is talking about the oneness of Allah, and one Allah to be worshipped in essence in all the things, in all life affairs. Hence Fir'aun thought of it that it was a threat to his kingdom, even though it's not a threat. It was not really a threat to his kingdom, rather it was a call towards him to worship Allah alone and leave that worshipping the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why we have to understand, because a lot of time today we hear that a lot of people, they would not like to talk about the La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah in this true essence, to understand that La ilaha illallah is calling the people to worship Allah alone in all aspects of life. And let's not divide this this kalima from Allah Azza wa Jal in a secular form, and thinking that La ilaha illallah means that it's talking about only our spiritualistic ibadat, and let's not talk about the political aspect of Islam. No, Islam is a whole, it's a complete way of life, and it has to be carried as a complete way of life. And that's what La ilaha illallah calls for. And this is what we see not only in this story of Musa alayhi salam, but rather you will see, and we will see in the Quran is filled with the stories of different prophets. And in all cases we see the prophets were calling for La ilaha illallah, and we find that all those prophets were the ones who felt, or who got the opposition from the people who did not want the word of Allah to be supreme, and then they gave them hardships in different means and forms. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the correct understanding of the Quran, and make us the ones who ponder on this book of Allah Azza wa Jal, so we can live by this book and command the others, and take this message to others, so they can also live by the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and see and feel and the mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala carries, the creator of the heavens and the earth. جزاكم الله خيرا وأقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه وإنه غفور رحيم. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم